All right, hi guys. My name is Adam Montai with Sky Valley Resort, and I'm here with Dr. Krista Kim. She's becoming a regular now with us, talking about COVID. So let's just go ahead and dive right in. Can you tell us where we're at in our local communities in the Coachella Valley in terms of hospitalizations, deaths, and all of that?
So into June and July, we saw increasing cases as well as increasing hospitalizations. And then noticing that trend, we did tamp back down, and we have now seen a decrease in our hospitalizations and our cases close to back to where we were prior to opening. So basically we had a graph that kind of looked like this. It did a little bump up, and now we're trending back down, and we've just kind of got back down to where we were before we spiked. Our hospitalizations at the height in the county were at about 500, and now we're back down to where we were before, which was just around 200. Here in the Coachella Valley, high desert area, at the peak of things, we were running close to 100 patients in the ICU, and now we're back down in our local hospitals. We're averaging just over 10. So you can see that little bump was kind of scary for a while, and it looks like things have kind of decreased. This is really good news, but it's also a good reminder that those types of control issues actually work. So that social distancing, that really being careful about being too close to people without precautions. We made a lot of effort here to make sure that if we were going to take our masks off, we were sitting outside and we had that 6 feet. So we want to continue those measures to make sure we don't bump our rates again.
And so today I will just give a quick update on Sky Valley and Caliente local. To date, since March, we've had 4 cases, 2 couples at Caliente, and those have all been recovered without any hospitalizations. Here at Sky Valley, I think we've had 4 cases, 2 families, and so far all recovered there. I want to ask you about the vaccine. I think a lot of people's strategy is, let me wait for a vaccine. What would be a realistic timeline for when the average person could expect to be vaccinated and trust that vaccine has the efficacy that they can return to their normal life?
I think realistically by next fall is when most of us are going to be able to get a vaccine that's had some miles under its belt, so that we know what we're doing with it and we really are pretty confident with it.
And that's next fall 2021?
Correct.
Okay, not next fall. Some of you guys are thinking next fall
2020. No.
Next month fall.
Yeah,
no. This is probably a year is what you're saying.
Right. I think it's probably a good idea to plan. If it happens sooner than that, great.
That's okay. Yeah, it's great.
But I think realistically that's probably a more reasonable timeline than thinking, yeah, boom, we're going to have it in January and we're going to be fine.
Yeah. So if it's a year away, let's talk about this fall and winter. Of course, we would love everyone to come down here and get active. But is getting active important to your physical health? You tell me as a physician.
Absolutely. And I used to live in Seattle. I grew up there. So I'm aware of what winter is like in areas where there's not as much sunlight in the winter, and especially if the weather is quite cold. I also lived in Canada for a few years. So our winter here, living in the desert, is our time to go outside. It's the time when we're most able to be active. And that's one of the great things about living here. In order to be healthy during the winter, we really want to stay active. Being outside and getting some kind of physical activity is ideal. And during COVID, the safest way to get physical activity is outside. So you get several benefits of that. You get some fresh air, you get some sunlight, your brain gets some stimulation, you get to see some beautiful things. That helps your mood. It's overall the best way to exercise during coronavirus is outside, not indoors.
My three brothers now live in northern Michigan, where it's cold and snowy. They shovel snow. It's great exercise. They used to snowmobile, which is also good exercise. There's a lot of ways to get exercise wherever you are.
Absolutely.
But I think that's key. Wherever you are, if a plan like let me just stay in the house and not exercise, not get movement. I mean, we know at the cellular level, movement is so important for physical health that leads to immune health. And if you do come into contact with this disease, or by the way, influenza and so many other diseases, I would just hope that you concur that move wherever you are and decide to be.
Even a video for some yoga or some stretching exercises, some dancing, anything you can do is going to really help your overall health.
Mental health. This is a big deal. I think it's primarily because of the lack of social interactions. What's your opinion on this? I mean, what can people do wherever they are, here again or elsewhere, to engage and meet that need for social health?
So what we're finding is that the ability to interact across a screen can only go so far. So there are people who can do pretty good with that and people who cannot. So if you're a person who needs that in-person contact, being isolated for prolonged periods of time can lead to problems with depression and anxiety. And added to that, all the stresses of living through a pandemic, financial, relational, emotional.
Yeah.
So it's tricky. Plus trying to redo schedules, being inside so much. These are all challenges for people. I actually want to say that if you are having difficulties with this, please do reach out, because during this period of time, if people need to take medication, that can make a big difference in their ability to function and to prevent things like suicide. And we really want people to reach out if they're struggling, and also to be proactive. If you find you're getting very depressed or anxious, make some kind of plan to have some social interaction as safely as possible.
Let's talk a little bit about supplements. Now, I listened recently to a radio lab on NPR called Invisible Allies, and I will link it in the description. It talks about vitamin D and some observational evidence that vitamin D is exceptionally healthy for you in terms of boosting your immune system to fight COVID specifically. What's vitamin D and other supplements? What do you know about what we should be taking or should avoid to help us fight this COVID and other diseases?
So I was very interested in this as well, especially because we're still, trying to figure out what's the best way to protect ourselves, what's the best way to try to have a mild case if we do get it.
Right.
How do we sort of put ourselves in the best position to either fight it off or avoid it altogether? So I've come up with a list of things that look like they could have benefit to help people, but aren't likely to cause anybody some serious harm. And I'll give you a list of those things. But basically what it came down to were things that improve your ability to fight off oxidative stress, which is how a lot of our bad sort of overactive immune response to the COVID is causing problems, as well as things that boost the immune system and help our little fighters work the best they can. My list has vitamin D on it. It has vitamin C. It has something called N-acetylcysteine or NAC. It has zinc. It has, I left off quercetin, but that's also a possibility. And so I'll give you that list as well.
And I'll link that again in the description or on the email that you guys are going to get from this video. So a lot of people that I know are eager to get back down here this fall. A lot of people don't know if they should come down this fall. And a lot of people are absolutely terrified to come down this fall. So, you'd expect that. Right. You have people that are all over the map. Otherwise, air travel will be something that everyone's wondering, is that safe? And so we have an NPR article that we'll link to. We've both read the NPR article that's asking that question. Mm-hmm. Is it safe to travel, air travel? Mm-hmm. What were your takeaways from that article?
So my takeaways from the article is that the air on a plane is really pretty safe. It's filtered at a very high level, and that air is actually clean 15 to 20 times an hour on the whole plane. That's a lot. That's like every 3 minutes you're getting a whole batch of clean air. So that's going to cut down the risk of transmission if there is a positive person on, or an infectious person on the plane. But what I also came away with was that in any form of travel, your highest risk moments are when you're very close to another person. So if you're on a plane and there are very few people and they're all spaced out, that's a pretty safe way to travel. If you're on a plane and it's packed to the gills and you're on a 6-hour flight with people just crowded all around you, that's less safe. So if you're driving, you have the problem of you have to go in to get food, you have to go in for lodging, you have to go into public bathrooms, and that's just a lot more time as well, and potentially more exposures. So even though people are nervous about flights, I think if I was going long distance, I'd actually probably choose to fly, because that gives me a real short period of time where I need to be on my guard and try to pick a flight that's going to have less people on it, whether it's a flight at a unpopular time or that I happen to know it's not going to be as booked.
There's going to be a number of people that say, you know what, I'm not coming back to our resorts for the COVID reason or otherwise, and we want to reach out and be more than willing to help you guys if it's time to sell your home. So we do have a free listing service. We get your home on a sheet. We give it to potential buyers that come in. We also have agents that will show and sell your home. We also refer to real estate agents. Pricing is actually really good right now, and sales are really good right now, Krista. Maybe in the broader market and here, people
Yes.
are moving out of the city, I guess, and they're at least coming here.
Right. In the whole Coachella Valley, there's a lot of people trying to leave LA and come here, who've now transitioned to full-time work at home, and they're trying to come to places like this. So I think the market is very hot right now.
It's two of my friends have just sold their home recently and moved across town, have both got $10,000 over their ask, and we see pricing here very good. In our manufactured housing, we see we sold a couple homes in the $80,000 range, which is 60 to 80s. 60 we used to say was our average, and now we've seen a little bit above market. And I think that's just people coming from much more expensive areas that are willing to pay more for a home. So if you are interested in selling, please get a hold of us. We want to help you. We'd love to also see you come back. Do not hear me say we don't want you to come back. We want you to come back. We want you to be healthy, stay safe, and we want to do what we can to help you guys. And that's what I've got. What else do you want to add here, Krista?
I was gonna say that for when you're choosing your winter activities, make sure that you're going to a place that's gonna maximize your ability to stay healthy, and a place where people are invested in that. So you want to go where people are actually taking those precautions that are going to keep you safe, because it's not just about you, it's also about your community. So you want to come to a community where they're thinking about it and paying attention to it and trying to keep you safe.
Yeah. I think that's totally right. And so if you have concerns or questions, are we that community? I hope we are.
I hope you are. Yes, I think you are.
Please reach out to us. Otherwise, thank you very much for sticking with us on the video today. Take care.